How we doing today, guys? Ryan and Sammy here bringing you this week's fishing report, and we're really excited to announce that this has been the first week that we are actually able to keep rockfish in all the rivers and tributaries. There's been a ton of keeper rockfish out there, 19 to 24 inches. You can always go out there and get your fish. Yeah, what kind of lures are you using, Sammy?
So mostly I've been jigging plastics. In the evenings, topwater's been really good as well, so I know you got some topwaters here. But the great time about this time of year is you can really do whatever you'd like. If you prefer to troll, you can certainly get out there, cover some of those ledges around the mouths of your rivers and do well doing that. If you prefer to live line, heading towards any of your bigger structures like your lighthouses here in the Northern Bay or the bridge, super productive for you there. Or if you want to cast lures, you can certainly do that. So I've been fishing mostly like 5 to 6 inch baits, a little bit smaller than I usually fish. Pink has been a really good color for me. So a lot of stuff like that going on, really. You can take your pick on what you'd like to do.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned live lining, so I want to mention the spot. I have heard of a couple people catching spot just north of the bridge, like you said, Sandy Point Lighthouse, right in there around 15 feet of water. The water's warming up, so we're going to have spot and should have them all summer, so you can go catch your own, use your fish bites as always, or get your bloodworm, use them on sabiki rigs. And then continuing with panfish. What about perch?
Perch fishing's been a little bit slower than we've typically seen at this time in previous years, but it doesn't mean you can't get on them. They're slowly fizzling out into your main rivers. I think a lot of the cool rain we've had has kind of slowed them down a little bit from pushing out to maybe your typical summer spots. But I have heard that the Severn's been probably the best river for perch around here.
Yeah.
They're already out in deeper water if you want to go jig like sabikis or sting stovers or small jigs on them in like open water, or you can fish shallow and cast your smaller baits for them.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been warming up. It's going to warm up this upcoming week. So we have some smaller baits that you can use too. These little pet spoons work really well. And then that's really it for perch. It's gonna heat up, not amazing right now, but then the catfish.
Catfishing, it's starting to slow down, at least on the main bayfront where we are, but if you're up in some of those bigger rivers, down a little bit like the Potomac, Anacostia, catfishing is not going to do anything besides get better. So tons of stuff for you to do out there. Any sort of cut bait on the bottom is going to be your best bet there. If you are fishing locally here in our rivers, I would be more targeting like channel catfish and white catfish than I would blue catfish. So don't be afraid to push upriver into some shallower spots in the evenings. That's usually the best time for that.
Yeah, you can even catch them on lures too, especially the channel cats. They're really aggressive, especially in the summer.
Absolutely.
A lot of times you actually bycatch them when you're fishing rockfish.
Yeah, and as far as bait goes, there's a ton of different options. We have some preserved bait here that you can try, or you can get some fresh bait. We have more than anybody else around. I can assure you of that.
Yep, eels, menhaden, you name it, we got it. And then snakehead. Going to be heating up. It's been pretty good. Obviously Blackwater's a big hot spot. A lot of people are using, smaller top waters like this. The water's warm enough to use them now. It's been a lot of fun for those guys down there.
I've heard of a few more caught in the rivers locally here. It's not as easy to fish over here on the western side, but if you are, get upriver and find grass. That's going to be your best bet. But be prepared to fish a little bit harder than you might be used to in some of your like eastern shore locations. We just don't have the sheer numbers that they have over there.
Yeah, definitely. Find grass, get up the river. I know there's a lot of grass in the Severn and the Magothy River. Go way up, and worst case scenario, you bycatch some rockfish.
Yeah, and fish really small bait seems to do a lot better over here on the west side. It seems that 90% of the snakehead that we see caught over here are people bycatching them while they're perch fishing.
Yeah, definitely. And we have those snakehead spinners, which are almost a direct replica of our perch hounder. So we definitely have some stuff on the smaller side to target snakehead around here.
So bass fishing is in a little bit of a weird spot right now. It's the spawn, so a lot of these fish are on beds, which can make it a little bit more challenging. A great option when you're fishing on bed or fishing like bright colors that you can see really well. These are some classic white zoom super flukes. These are great because you can cover water, but also it's a great sight bait. So we don't have typically the clearest water in the upper bay when it comes to sight fishing for bass. So having something that you can cover water with because you can't really see those beds, or something that you can see when you do find those beds. So these classic zoom flukes are pretty hard to beat. You can rig them a ton of different ways. My favorite way to rig them for sight fishing is on a Nico rig. It's great on the bass beds because it looks like a little fish picking the eggs off of the bottom.
Yeah, and then if those bass see that on their bed, they're just absolutely going to kill it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, moving on to a little bit further south, bluefish, specks, reds have all been caught. Pretty much Poplar Island and south.
Yeah.
The chop tank has been really good for specks. People throwing these jerk baits like this Yozuri here around docks, any sort of structure, shallower water typically. Like this bait's going to run 3 to 4 feet. But yeah, any sort of structure down there, west or east side, has been pretty good for specks.
Yeah, and we've seen more bluefish this early than I think we've seen in a number of years.
Yep.
Really good on both the western shore and the eastern shore, chop tank and south. So topwater fishing in the mornings, especially in the islands on the lower Maryland shore, has been terrific for the bluefish from everybody I've talked to. So that's something different. If you want to get out and do something different, it is great time for that.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess heading into, well, staying local for now, the crabbing has been pretty good. Everyone is out there pretty much full swing crabbing. I know friends of mine have been getting full bushels in an evening, using either chicken necks or they're actually cutting up white perch too, catching them on those. Eel, always a good option too, or along with razor clams.
Yeah, we're kind of at that point where the trout line starts to work a little bit better than traps. The traps seem to be more productive earlier in the season when the water's a little bit cooler. As our temperatures continue to rise, the trout line really becomes probably the most effective way to do it. Wow. Does not mean you can't go out and run traps. You certainly can do that as well. So moving down the coast a little bit, down towards Ocean City, sea bass fishing has been fantastic from everything I've heard.
Yeah, definitely. Sea bass and flounder. Sea bass offshore, fishing your top-bottom rigs on the wrecks with squid has been super effective, along with flounder fishing in the back bay, which is a lot more accessible if you have your own boat. Trailer down there. If you're fishing Ocean City, you can't go wrong with a deadly tackle rig. Right here we have the deadly double and the classic chartreuse. Put a little gulp minnow or a little mud minnow on here. Fish your shallower waters down Ocean City, like 6 to 15 feet typically.
Yeah.
Get a good outgoing tide and usually kill some flounder.
You can certainly surf fish for flounder as well. I think this is the best time of the year to do it. All the way from Delaware down towards Chincoteague. If you can get down towards the coast, you can fish for them. So my typical rig is like a top and bottom rig. I'll fish gulp and I'll drag it along. You got to think most of the time 90% of flounder are caught on the drift. So you can't really do that from shore. So just dragging a top and bottom rig with the same stuff that you would use while drifting on a boat can be really productive. So some gulp on like a traditional top and bottom rig that you slowly drag is phenomenal this time of the year.
Yeah.
I've heard of some big flounder caught off Chesapeake this week doing that.
Yep,
so.
Definitely. And then last but not least, we have our offshore bite. So we have heard of both bluefin and yellowfin at this point being caught off of Ocean City. I know they've been killing them in North Carolina the last month or so, but I think they're finally moving up. At least the bluefin has been consistent the last week or so. Yellowfin should definitely start to push in, hopefully. And we do have a select few lures for you guys out there trying to get to the canyons. We got these Blue Water Candy Riz heads. Put a ballyhoo behind there and go kill some bluefin.
Awesome. That just about wraps it up, guys. Best of luck out there and have a good one.